Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy, and we are live. Yes, that's right. If you're watching right now, this is live. Sometimes I record these and then push them out at specific times, but want to do a quick live streaming for our students, and we are covering the section right now. I'm going to go over here so you can see this on the board, but we're actually going to take a quick look at section 2, which is chapter 7 in our module. It's land use controls and regulations, specifically real estate taxes. That is what we will be focusing on for today's live streaming module. Now, want to remind you that we would love to have you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure and click on the bell, and then when we go live, as we are today, you'll be notified and you can watch those. And by the way, we have all of our videos. We're putting into playlists and other information that will help you pass the real estate examination. So again, we're live. You could hear my little dog Lucy bark in the background. You could even hear my little grandson Teddy running across the floor upstairs, but that's okay. Enjoy life each and every day and be grateful for what's going on, right? So hopefully you won't hear that, but anyway, if you do, you know what's going on. Well, let's go over to the board again, and just so you'll understand, I've been doing some live streaming. These videos are on the website. This is the candidate handbook for PSI. So this is the Missouri handbook. It's going to look very similar for all of the states that we are in. Again, we're focusing on the national part of the examination. We've already covered these sections, and so you can watch these videos on our YouTube channel. Just search back for those. And today we're actually focusing on land use control and regulations. And again, this is actually coming from chapter 7 in our book or our online module. And so we're going to jump over here to chapter 7. By the way, I think it's kind of interesting, and I would love for you to take a look at this. We're actually updating our course content. So our whole look and feel of our course is being updated and changed. Our goal is before December 31st, we will have that all done. But we've had I feel very, very blessed and fortunate for the kind comments and the students who love the course. They enjoy it. But we have some really awesome things that we'll be unveiling in this new version that my team members and I are working on. So a lot of really cool stuff that I think will help out and just kind of enhancing what we already have. But I'm very proud of what we have right now as well, which is our program here. And you can see I'm actually in what are called the review modules. And with the review modules, you can actually jump around and look at any specific module you want to in the course at any time. In the main course, naturally, you have to follow a specific format. But when you're over here on the review side, you can move down, look at any of these options that you want to. So I'm going to take us through chapter 7 in our module, and I'm going to close that up right there and bring you back over. You can take our course on a smartphone or a tablet, and if you are on a tablet or a smartphone, you can just simply use your fingers to move forward or backwards, but here we will just use the arrow that's
in
down
chapter 7. You will learn the
section.
acronym for PEAT.
I do want to just
Police
kind of
power,
show you so
eminent
you'll
domain,
know, have an
taxation.
idea. But previous slide,
Welcome to module 7.
as I go back to
real estate.
that. Actually,
In
always
chapter
try to
7,
give you the
you will
time
learn
limit
the
of
acronym
what's
for
going
PEAT.
to occur and how
Police
long
power,
the course is
eminent
going
domain,
to take. Now,
taxation,
with this specific
and
slide here, I'm
and
just
why
covering some
real
of the learning
estate property
objectives.
must
One
be
of the
taxed.
things you need
You
to
will define the
understand
concept
is
and
that
understand
there's
the
this
principle
acronym called
for ad
PEAT,
valorem.
P-E-T-E.
Learn the basic fundamentals for calculating and prorating
real estate property
tax
must
problems.
be taxed.
Understand
So,
how to apply
we're going to talk
a
about
nil
PEAT
to the real
We're
estate
going to
tax
talk about this
assessment formula.
concept of
And
ad
finally,
valorem.
you will be able
And
to
we're going to learn some
learn
of
why
the basic
special assessments are used for real estate tax
calculating
purposes.
and
When you are
prorating
ready to
real
begin,
estate,
you can select the
math and
arrow
tax
from
problems
below.
for you. Take a look at what a mill is for real estate, and then why special assessments are used for real estate tax purposes. So we have a lot of stuff we're going to cover here. I may not spend the entire time on our live stream today, but I do want to try to get something in that we can go over for today. So getting back over here, we're going to move over to our next slide. I apologize.
Real
I'm hitting
estate
the button
taxes are
too
considered
quickly, so let me go
ad
back right
valorem.
over here again.
As
So
we studied
there's
from the
this
ownership section of
concept
the
called
text, we own our real
I
estate
refer
without
to
the
it
worry
as
or bother
Uncle
of anyone
Pete.
telling us what we can or
Uncle
cannot
Sam
do
is,
with
you know,
our
we
real
know
estate
Uncle
except
Sam, but
for
we're
Uncle
actually,
Pete.
when I talk about Pete or Uncle Pete, I'm talking about an acronym. So each one of these letters represent a word that we want to understand. So when you buy real estate, you're actually purchasing real estate, and you own that. No one can tell you what to do with your real estate except for Uncle Pete. So what would be some of those exceptions? Well, first of all, the P stands for police power. You know, and as we look at P, the police power, so we have zoning laws and we have variances. So that, you know, the local city or even the state in some situations can tell you what you can and cannot do with your property. In fact, you know, you have to build a home on a new lot. It has to be so many feet from the lot lines. Perhaps you can only have a residential home in a specific area of town, or you can only have commercial property in specific areas of town. So that's what this whole police power talks about, is there are some stipulations on what you can and can't do with your property. Now the E, again, we're talking about Uncle Pete. So P-E-T-E. The E stands for, and we can put escheat or eminent domain. We're going to talk about both of those. So we'll just start with eminent domain. And that's the right for the government to take private property for public use. Sometimes we hear about that with highways or roadways. Sometimes even local governments take property for some type of commercial or some type of expansion of a big commercial project. Now, for that to happen, you have to show that there's three things that have to happen if the government wants to take private property for public use. First and foremost, it has to be for the good of the public. Okay, so make sure you write that down. The second thing you have to have in this situation is you have to have what's called just compensation. In other words, you have to, the government would have to compensate you reasonably for your property. One time I was a county commissioner that was appointed by the state for some highway rights of way and some new expansion of a highway. And so myself and a couple of other real estate brokers and an appraiser were actually sworn in as commissioners. Well, we had to look at all the evidence and look at the properties, and then both parties, you know, the state said this is what we're willing to pay for the property, and the homeowners and their attorney said we don't think that's a fair price. And so as commissioners, we had to look at all the evidence and the presentations and the appraisals, and then we had to determine what if we felt those prices were justly compensated or not. So number one has to be for the good of the public. Number two, just compensation. And then number three, there has to be what's called due process of law. In other words, they just can't come in and take your property right away. There has to be what we call due process of law. In other words, you have the right to get an attorney. You have the right to subpoena and ask questions and, you know, all the things you would do in a normal trial. And so forth and so on, and then lo and behold, just compensation, due process of law, and it was for the good of the public. So that's eminent domain. Now the process of taking that property is through what we call condemnation, okay? And they do love to ask this question on the exam, so I encourage you to make sure you really understand what eminent domain is, what condemnation is. Those are very good to understand. By the way, quick plug, we have some digital flashcards you can buy on our website. You can download those to your phone, and you can take those with you and study your terminology wherever you go. So it's kind of a little side note there, and you can find those at globalrealestateschool.com. So again, 3 things for eminent domain: has to be for the good of the public, has to be just compensation, and it also has to include what we call due process of law. Okay, so keep that in mind. So police power, eminent domain. Remember, we're talking about the acronym for Uncle Pete. No one can tell you what you can do with your property except for Uncle Pete. So police power, eminent domain, and taxation. The government's going to tax you your property. If you live in the county or the city, sometimes you might have one or the other. Some places, trying to think, we had a local community that did away with the local city tax, and they've been trying to get that back for years. And of course, the city residents say, no, we're not going to let you do city tax again. So I don't know what happened on all of that. But taxation is another part of Uncle Pete. And then the final part of Uncle Pete is called escheat, E-S-C-H-E-A-T. Lots of definitions on the exam. That's why those digital flashcards are so important. Escheat is when you die without heirs and without a will, okay? If you die without heirs and without a will, then the property escheats to the state, okay? So again, Uncle Pete just wants you to be familiar with the fact that we own our property without the worry or bother of anyone telling us what we can or cannot do except Uncle Pete. So the T stands for taxation. All right, well, let's talk about real estate tax. It's not going to go too much longer today. I want to keep the live streaming a little bit short, but I want you to think in terms of this. When we talk about real estate taxes, we have this concept called ad valorem, okay? Now, they took phonics out of school when I was a kid, so if some of you are watching and you're like, hey, you didn't pronounce that right, John, I'm sorry. That's why I had to get out of broadcasting. I remember I was in broadcasting right out of high school, and I remember saying, and that's James Taylor up on a roof. And the program director came in and said, did you just say rough? I meant roof, I'm sorry. So anyway, we've got to have this concept called ad valorem. We've got to have some fun when we're talking with real estate, right? And ad valorem, and I want you to look at this, really means this: according to value, okay? According to value. So I give you an example here. A person who owns a $300,000 home will pay more tax than a person who owns a $100,000 home. And again, I remind you in the course, the more expensive the real estate you own, the more tax you will pay. Okay, so keep that in mind. The more expensive the real estate, the more tax you will pay. And that's what we call ad valorem, or that's what we mean by that. It's called according to value. So if you see an exam question and they give you different price scenarios, you immediately need to understand, well, the person who owns the more expensive home is going to have a higher tax, will be paying higher taxes because of ad valorem, or according to value. Now, back to our board here, and moving on to the next slide. I want you to understand that
take a
real
good
property
note on
tax
this
liens
specific slide
take
because
priority
I definitely see a
over
question in
all
the real
other
estate examination.
liens.
And the way
So
the
at
questions
the
are
tax
worded,
sale, they are going to basically start bidding on the property or any foreclosure sale, and tax liens will take top priority. Okay? So scenario would be this. If you owe the bank $100,000, and we talk about this in financing, let's say you owe the bank $100,000 and you quit making your payments. The bank tries to get you to get current, and you don't. They send you letters and you ignore them. Depending on what state it's in my state, in Missouri, we use a trust deed. They're going to, because the trust deed has a clause in there called acceleration clause, they're going to accelerate all the payments due, and they're going to begin foreclosure proceedings. Now, at the foreclosure sale, the trustee is going to be there, and they will bid whatever the mortgage balance is, whatever the legal fees are, and any back taxes and special assessments. So let's just say that adds up to $5,000. The trustee is going to be there, and they're going to bid $105,001. Now, why are they bidding $105,001? Because if you were there bidding and you say, I'll bid $105,002, you're bidding $1 over the bank, and if you win, you pay the foreclosure, you pay the sheriff the $105,002, and then the sheriff or whoever's administering the sale would pay the fees and expenses to do the sale, would pay the taxes that are back due and any special assessments, pay all of that stuff, and pay the $100,000 you're behind on the bank, and then everything's zeroed out. See how that works? But remember, the first person that gets paid, even before the bank in this situation, is the taxes. Or are the taxes. Maybe I should grammatically say that. But just remember, taxes get paid first. So to determine what the taxes will be on real estate in the county where the real estate is located, several things need to be established. First of all, and you may not need to know too much of this, but the local authorities will actually go out and perform what are called assessments on all of the properties that are available for taxing. Now that's important because churches, schools, or hospitals, there are some groups that do not have to pay any tax. So they're just going to go around, figure out what the taxes are, and then they're going to try to arrive at a tax rate. Now, in essence, what they're trying to do is say, well, if all of our expenses for the government
determine what the taxes
much,
will be on real estate
and
in
this
the
is
county
the
where the real
additional
estate is
revenue
located,
or
several
income
things
the
need to
government
be
may
established.
get.
First, the local assessments
How
on
much,
all
based on
properties
all of these
available for
assessments,
taxing in the district.
can we plug
These
into the
assessments
formula
will be
so
done
that we
every
can
few
pay our
years
expenses
to keep the
and everything
assessments
kind of
accurate.
zeroes out?
Second,
Does that make
a
sense?
tax rate needs to be established.
So to do
To
that,
arrive
they will
at the
arrive
tax
at what
rate,
is called
the government
a
must
tax rate.
adopt and approve
And
a
that tax
budget
rate
for
will
the
be
fiscal year.
applied to
Now, as we
your
continue our
evaluation. So
section
here's
on
an
this
example of
slide,
this.
this is
I
just
just
a
want to
real
walk you
quick
through this. The
way for you
money
to understand how real
that's
estate
needed
taxes work. So
by the
government,
district,
local county government,
divided by the
will
total
determine
assessments for all
the
real
money
estate.
needed
So if
by
there's
the district. Could be the city
$400,000
or the county
needed,
government, as
you
I
would
mentioned.
divide that by the
And they will
$10 million.
take all of the
That's the total
assessments
assessments available,
of
and
the
that
real
would give a
estate
tax
within
rate of
that
4%.
district. So, I'll give
Okay,
you an
now
example here of
this
$4,000
right here,
that's
I
needed
want you to highlight
this
this.
village or city or county.
This you very well could see on the exam.
$400,000. That's
And
what's
that is
needed
a tax
to
rate
operate
may be
county
expressed
government.
as what we
Now,
call
of course, the
mills,
government's
and
going
a
to
mill
figure
is
out how much
1/1000th of a
income
dollar,
they have
or
coming in on
1/10 of a
non-essential
penny,
items
or
and their
a
expenses. And
0.001.
then
Now,
they're
don't
going
panic
to
about
say, hey,
this.
here's how much
We
money
work
we
these
really need
for
to
you
raise through real
in the
estate
course.
taxes to pay for
We help
everything.
you so that you can
So from
figure
that
that all
budget,
out. But
we
I
have a
just
village,
want you to
city, or
understand,
county who
you
needs
very well could see a
$400,000.
question
Now,
about a
we have
mill, and it
$10
could just be,
million
how do you
in
convert one mill,
assessments
0.001?
So
You
if
can
we
see
took
here
$400,000
that I give you some other
that's needed,
examples
and we
down
divided
below
that by $10 million
of how tax rates
that's on the
could be expressed.
property tax
They could
rolls,
be expressed
we
by
have a tax rate of
$100
4%.
or
Now, before you start to
$1,000 of
panic a
assessed
little bit,
value, and so
you're not going
forth.
to have to get
So keep that in mind. You're going to probably
real
see
estate
an exam
for
question, but
calculating
hopefully you
numbers
will
like
see
this, but
those
I just
here in
want
the
you to
course, and you'll be
understand how
able
it
to
works.
do just fine.
Now,
Okay?
Tax
Now,
rates
let's
is very
move
important
on
to
here
understand. They can be expressed
to
as
our next.
mills. And a
Go
mill
down
is
a little bit further here.
Here is a typical
So here's a typical tax
problem
problem.
you could see on the exam. The tax assessment
The
ratio
tax assessment
for a house
ratio for a
valued
house
at
is valued at
$90,000 is
$90,000.
40%.
That's the
The
value.
tax rate
Is 40%.
$3.50
If the tax rate is
per
$3.50
$1,000 of assessed value.
and
What
50
is the
cents per assessed
quarterly tax
value,
bill?
what
Now
is
you
the
can select the
quarterly
Show Me button
tax?
to find
Now,
out
you
how we
really
solve
have
this
to
problem.
watch the test writers because they love to throw those quarterly, semi-annually, annually. It can get a little tricky there. So I always remind my students, you read the problem or the question 3 times, okay, and all of the answers. Most students will miss easy questions because they did not read the question correctly, or carefully, I should say. Either one of those. So, you know, we don't want a situation where it's like, oh, John, I only missed the exam by 1 point. It could have just been the fact that you didn't read those questions 2 or 3 times. Here's the deal. You have 2.5 hours or so to take the test. You don't get points for finishing in an hour and a half. You get no points for being the first one to finish. In fact, you have to understand when you go in these testing centers, some people are taking different tests than you. I took a test recently when we wanted to get approved in another state, so I had to pass the exam with an 85% pass rate. And yes, I did pass. Thank you, Lord. Because it's still challenging for me, a lot of information. And I read the question the first time and I think I know that. And then I read it a second time and it's like, oh, I get that. But I remember, you're not supposed to talk to anybody in there, but the girl next to me, she was taking her barber test. She only had 50 questions. I had 150 questions. She just had 50. So don't freak out or panic if somebody gets up and leaves quickly. They just may be taking a different test, but you don't get points for finishing it in record time. We want to double check. Okay? So look how I threw that word in there called quarterly. That's what they want to know. So let's see how this is solved. So I have a video where I walk through this. I could probably play that video right here. We could
So
watch
how
it.
do you work this problem?
So
The
again,
tax
the tax
assessment
assessment
ratio
ratio for a house is valued at
That's
$90,000
$90,000.
is 40%.
Now,
Okay?
if the tax
So
assessment
we need
ratio
to
is
do some
40%
steps
of
in this
this,
problem. If the
then the
tax
tax
rate
rate is
is
$3.50
$3.50 per 1,000 of assessed
of
value,
assessed
what is the
value.
quarterly
What is
tax
a
bill.
quarterly
So,
tax
get
bill?
my mouse. Whoops.
Well, the first thing we need to do is take the
So here we go, $90,000. You can see here. One of the things about our course, and this is why I'm
40%.
showing you this today,
So we'll
is I
multiply that
wanted you
times
to be able to see that we
40%.
have lots of video in our
Remember that
course.
you can
It's
move
not
your
just
decimal
reading.
over
You
two
hear me
places.
talking here.
So
And
I
so I
like
moved
to,
my decimal
rather than
point over
use the
2 places. I
40%,
love to do that when
that
I'm doing
0.40.
multiplication
My
rather than
decimal
trying to use the
places.
decimal
90,000
button on my calculator. It
multiplied
can do some
by
weird things.
point
So 90,000
40
times
gets
0.40
you 36,000.
is going to give us the assessed valuation. Remember, reading that problem,
Now,
the
this is
tax
a tax
assessment ratio for a house value
So
is
$36,000
$90,000
is we read on
40%.
in the problem.
Now, if the
The
tax
assessed
rate is
value is
$3.50
$3.50
per
per
1,000
of assessed value.
of the assessed value,
This
our
is the
36,000 is the assessed value.
36,000.
We want to now
90,000.
divide that by what?
The tax
We want to
assessment
divide that
ratio
by
for a house
1,000
value
because
is
it's
90,000 is 40%.
$3.50.
So we have our assessed
per
valuation.
1,000
Now we just need to
of
find out
assessed value.
how many $1,000
So when we
are inside
divide
this 36,000.
36,000
So if we divide that
by
1,000,
1,000,
we
we're
get
going to get
36.
36.
Now
when we
remember,
read the problem, it
says
says it's
the tax
$3.50
rate is
per
$3.50.
We know it's
$1,000
36.
of assessed
Now we need to
value.
take 36
We take
and we need
36
to multiply this times $3.50.
$3.50.
That
When we
will give
multiply
us
that, we get
the annual tax, right?
$3.50.
So 36
36
multiplied by $3.50
$126
gives us $126.
Now, answer A
But again,
will be
that is your annual
$126.
taxes.
And many
Now,
people
the problem
will circle
says,
that answer,
what is the
or plug that into the
quarterly
computer,
tax bill?
and they will
So we
say,
need to take
yes, they got one
$126,
right. That was easy.
and we
But
need
if you
to
read
divide
the
it by
question,
what?
They want to know
4.
what the quarterly
That's
tax
right.
bill is.
What is the quarterly
So
tax
we have
bill?
one more
So
step, which is
126
126
divided by 4
divided
equals,
by 4,
I think it's
which
around
gives you $31.50.
$31.50.
And this is
There
probably
we
going to
go.
be answer
All right.
C.
Hey, that wasn't that bad of a math problem, was it? But notice there's some trickery in there, the quarterly, the way things are worded. We go through all of this in our course. We take time to make sure you understand it. We have audio and video, and we have those digital flashcards you can go out and purchase, remember? So check that out. We're at Global Real Estate School. We have courses approved in 9 different states. We have a product called My Real Estate Exam Coach that works in all 50 states for the national side of the course, the exam. And we have students all over the country who purchase that, and it has helped them pass the exam. So check it out. You can find all of it at Global Real Estate School. We have digital flashcards. Put those on your phone. Learn the definitions. I'm telling you what, you learn the definitions and you'll be just fine. We have the My Real Estate Exam Coach. We have a brand new coaching program called 5 Minutes to Jumpstarting Your Real Estate Career, and so much more. And yes, we have our YouTube channel where you can subscribe, click the bell, subscribe, and be notified each and every time we go live. Well, we're working on taxes and some of this other information. We're going to pick up with it tomorrow with another live streaming and keep moving forward. But we appreciate you watching. Always appreciate a thumbs up. We're good sports. We can take a thumbs down too if you didn't like it. There's always somebody that doesn't like something, right? But we'd love to get a thumbs up, and we appreciate your support, and we appreciate your business. A lot of students going through our course, and we're so excited about that. So do not forget, we are giving away, one of my team members is in the back, my beautiful, lovely daughter, Alex. Alex, we're giving away $500 on December the 3rd. And all you have to do is go to Global Real Estate School And I think it's over on the Resources tab. You can register right there. The best way is to go out to Instagram, look up Global Real Estate School. You'll find a social media post, share it. You do not have to be a student, and you'll be registered for the $500 Christmas cash. Now, here's the great thing. If you sign up for one of our courses, or you buy the digital flashcards, or you buy My Real Estate Exam Coach, or you buy 5 minutes to jumpstarting your real estate career, you get registered too. So you can share and win, you can sign up for courses and win, and if you recommend somebody and they sign up, just call us or send us an email and say, hey, did so-and-so sign up? I just recommended them to your real estate school. And you get registered for that too. So $500. We gave away an iPad with our last drawing, and I'm trying to remember who that lady was, but she was from Texas, and she won our iPad, so we were so excited about that. But we'll do the drawing live here, and it's $500 cash. Spend it however you want to. But the only way you can register are by some of those methods. You got to recommend somebody to the school and let us know. You got to share our social media post on your social media, tag us, buy one of our products. And if you're an existing real estate agent, yes, we have 5 minutes to jumpstarting your real estate career. So you can check all of that out as well. Hey, thank you. If you've been watching this whole time, you've made my day. Thanks so much. If you checked out a while back, you missed out hearing about the $500 cash, right? So, but we appreciate you and thank you so much. I hope you go out and make it a great day.